The Islamic Center of San Diego is the largest mosque in the county. On the morning of May 18, 2026, it was operating as an interfaith sanctuary and community hub. Inside the attached Bright Horizon Academy, 140 children were attending their elementary school classes. At 9:42 a.m., San Diego police received an urgent 911 call. A local mother reported that her teenage son had run away. She described him as suicidal and noted he was dressed in camouflage. Minutes later, the situation escalated. The mother informed dispatchers that several of her firearms, along with her white BMW, were also missing from the property. A heavily armed, unstable teenager was now driving through the city. While law enforcement scrambled to locate the vehicle, the students and teachers at the Bright Horizon Academy continued their morning routine, completely unaware of the approaching danger. The missing teen was 17-year-old Kane Clark, accompanied by 18-year-old Caleb Vasquez. The two had met and radicalized entirely in the dark corners of the internet. They left behind a 75-page manifesto detailing their motives. In the text, they named themselves the Sons of Tarrant, a direct reference to the white supremacist who murdered 51 people at mosques in Christchurch, New Zealand. This ideological map illustrates the framework that guided them, the Great Replacement Theory. Under this white supremacist belief system, they directed explicit hatred toward Muslims, Jewish people, Black people, women, and the LGBTQ+ community. These teenagers absorbed digital hate speech within isolated online echo chambers. On that Monday morning, they decided to convert that digital extremism into physical violence in their own city. At exactly 11:43 a.m., Clark and Vasquez pulled into the Islamic Center's parking lot and stepped out of their vehicle. Looking at this overhead map, you see the immediate proximity of the threat. The parking lot is only steps away from classrooms holding 140 children. Following their intended path, it would take seconds to cross this pavement and breach the school doors. Security guard Amin Abdullah saw them approaching. Instead of seeking cover, he drew his weapon and advanced, engaging them in a direct firefight. During the exchange, Abdullah reached for his radio and broadcast an urgent lockdown order to the teachers. He kept firing to hold the line until he sustained fatal injuries. Stepping directly into the line of fire, Abdullah destroyed the shooter's element of surprise. His lockdown order secured the building, placing 140 children safely behind locked doors. Blocked from entering the school and facing active resistance, the teenagers retreated from the building's entrance and moved back into the open parking lot. Outside, two community members, Mansoor Kaziha and Nader Awad, purposefully drew the gunman's attention. Unarmed, they distracted the shooters, keeping their focus away from the classrooms. They held the line until police sirens approached. Both men were killed. As heavily armed officers flooded the streets surrounding the mosque, the teenagers fled in their vehicle. They fired at a local landscaper, missing him, before committing suicide in their car nearby. Two teenagers, equipped with body armor and stolen rifles, retreated at the first sign of resistance, taking their own lives rather than facing capture. They were held off by three men who sacrificed themselves to shield their community. Hours later, San Diego Police Chief Scott Wall confirmed the threat was neutralized. He announced the attack was being investigated as a hate crime, citing the rhetoric found in the suspect's vehicle. Federal investigators later executed search warrants at the teenagers' homes. They seized more than 30 firearms, a crossbow, ammunition, and tactical gear, revealing the deep extent of their preparation. This line graph traces data from the Council on American-Islamic Relations. It illustrates a sharp upward trajectory in anti-Muslim bias incidents and violence against places of worship, culminating in record highs in the years leading up to 2026. Police stopped the physical shooters on the street, but the digital networks of Islamophobia and white supremacy that armed them and gave them their targets remain active. Inside the school, 9-year-old Odai and his classmates spent those terrifying minutes huddled together in a dark closet, listening to the gunfire outside, until a SWAT team finally opened the door. The following day, residents gathered at the gates of the Islamic Center. They built floral memorials, mourning the loss of the men who stood guard at their doors. At interfaith vigils across the city, crowds held signs demanding an end to systemic racism, making it clear that they would not let fear divide their neighborhoods. Amin Abdullah, Mansoor Kaziha, and Nader Awad were ordinary community members, a security guard, a handyman, and a dedicated worshiper. When the threat arrived, they became a permanent shield for the people they loved. Online hate speech and radicalization are designed to inflict terror and break communities apart. In San Diego, that violence was met and ultimately defeated by a community's willingness to protect one another at all costs.